She was top 4 in MVP voting. And that's not a fan vote. That's her greatness.
In order for you to be the face of the league, you first have to be one of the best players in the league, comparable to an Asia Wilson.
Sandy Brondello was asked, what are the 2 hardest players to scout? She said Asia and Caitlin.
Caitlin Clark generates the most shots, the most assists, because the ball is in her hand way more than any other player in the WNBA. That's why she has 5.5 turnovers a game more than anyone else.
She's the only person that we use that as an element to try to tear her
it's
down.
So egregiously more.
What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan, and I'm ready to take on these 10 haters today. My first claim is Caitlin Clark is the #1 reason for the rise in women's basketball.
That could have been the worst way you could have started off today.
All right, let's go.
The WNBA has been on an incline for the past 20 plus years. First and foremost, I want to shout out Sue Bird for getting her jersey retired. Shout out to the Huskies for also dominating women's basketball for the past 20 plus years. And there we go, Maya Moore and Stewie. So with Caitlin Clark coming in the past 2 years, the ratings before that, I won't say they were low, I won't say they were high, but she is not the main reason why the entire NBA ratings has been as prosperous. We still have Sue Bird, we still have Diana Taurasi. They have done so much for the WNBA, their community. So Caitlin's, the minimal things that she's done in Iowa. Now, I will say what she's done in Iowa, she's from Iowa. All that is homegrown. So all the love is from her people. Like Carmelo Anthony in New York, when he went to Syracuse, he has nothing but love because that's where he's from. So all the viewership came from Iowa all alone. Now, as she gotten better and as she done moved up, she got to see Angel Reese, which also has her Bayou Barbie. Now, they did tag team, but altogether, I do not think she is the sole purpose for the WNBA ratings. I give it to women like Sabrina Ionescu.
We have a lot of New Yorkers.
I go to my South Carolina Gamecock, Asia Wilson. Yeah! And most importantly, the greatest Indiana Fever, Tamika Catchings.
Okay. Everyone you listed, incredible basketball players. So my argument is that Caitlin Clark is the #1 reason. She is the lead reason. You listed a lot of people. Correct. Those all came before her. But the boom in women's basketball, and we have to look at the numbers. The numbers skyrocketed between 2023 and 2024.
So now what happened in 2020? Because 2020 was also an amazing year for as well. And she wasn't even in WNBA yet.
The numbers haven't even been close.
Okay.
So even if you talk about attendance, for example,
100%,
right?
yeah.
So if we look at attendance for all of the teams, the Indiana Fever were in the bottom 3 when it came to attendance in 2023. Less than 6,000 they averaged, okay? The last 2 seasons, Indiana Fever have been #1 in attendance.
Now, what is in Indiana for anyone ever to go to Indiana?
But when you talk about, hold on.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give Indiana straight, but,
No, but
it's there was nothing going on Indiana before, but the Pacers, not even the Colts are that good. So Indiana's viewership, their attendance is always going to be low.
But they came because of Caitlin.
Because of Caitlin, 100%. 100%.
Right. So with that grew the attendance of the entire league. Even if you look at the WNBA draft, for 2024, 3 million people tuned into that WNBA draft. And then the following year, 1.25 million. So that year was like nothing they had ever seen. If we talk about the All-Star voting, right? The first year that Caitlin Clark was voted into the All-Star game, she had 700,000 votes, which was more than all players combined the year prior. And then after that, she had over 1 million votes.
So now, on my last statement, what about her counterpart, the other person that also helped her as well? Because if I'm be honest, it's not even solely Caitlin Clark. It's also Angel Reese as well. That was her main villain. Well, I'm not even going to say hero or villain because at the end of the day, the Bayou Barbie, she's the queen. She's got it done.
And Angel Reese has also been incredible. The point I'll make is that if you, again, go back to attendance, the Chicago Sky were in the top 5 in attendance in 2023, and in the last 2 seasons, they've been in the bottom 5. So she didn't change much.
I do want to go back to the attendance conversation that you guys are having, because I think one thing that's forgotten is not every team in the WNBA plays in an NBA-size arena, right? So we go to your point about...
Absolutely. That's correct.
So we go to your point about, like, Indiana's attendance before Caitlin Clark arrived. Before Caitlin Clark got there, they're playing in a barn. So, like, very limited attendance, right? Even if you look at the league now, the Mystics play in a smaller arena. on the southeast side of DC, right? The Wings play in like a college arena. The Dream play in like a college arena. There's like half the league plays in college arenas. So yes, the Fever attendance has increased, but also like the Aces have been towards the top of the league in attendance. The New York Liberty have been towards the top. The New York Liberty set attendance records this season.
They have.
So it's like also we're kind of comparing apples to oranges in a way, because it's like I can't look at, say, the Chicago Sky and Wintrust Arena, right? That doesn't seat as many people as Gamebridge Fieldhouse or the Barclays Center or Michelob Ultra and compare the attendance that way either.
So 2 points. So 2 points. Why was the Chicago Sky then in the top 5 in 2023 and then in the bottom 5 in 2024 and 2025 if they're playing in the same arena? My second point is the Indiana Fever is the only team that when they travel to these other arenas, they change them to NBA arenas to satisfy the demand for tickets in these places.
The Sun played the Wings in TD Garden this past season. So
right.
we're not the only team.
And the Suns and the Wings have the 2 lowest attendance of all teams.
Right. But you were just saying
so
that.
I guess right. But do the Suns, when they travel on the road, they move every arena that they go to?
No, not all the time. I was just saying to your point about the
Right.
Fever being the only reason why teams move. The Sun played a game against the Wings and Paige Beckers in TD Garden. That's all I was pointing there.
Right.
But to answer your question, sure. But so also with the Chicago Sky, we have to remember the Chicago Sky won the championship in 2021, right? And Kalia Copper was still there in 2022 and 2023. So they still had a superstar player to attract. Not saying that Angel Reese isn't a superstar, because she is. But also the Chicago Sky is kind of an outlier because their organization as a whole has just completely collapsed since James Wade has left. It was like a completely different conversation. So I think also when you're watching a team win a championship and then 2 years later they just completely fall apart because your organization has traded away top picks and you're missing on all these players, you're not going to want to go watch the team play. It's like the Chicago Bulls, for example. Their organization is so focused on what we did in the 90s that no one wants to go see the Bulls play basketball because they haven't put a good product on the floor. So that's a part of it as well. It's not just Caitlin and the Fever. Like, the organization has to do their job to put a good product on the floor. The Sky have not put a good product on the floor the last 2 years.
The Indiana Fever haven't been good for a while also. So that's what the reason I brought up the Chicago Sky, by the way, is because Angel Reese was brought up. So what I'm saying is if Caitlin Clark comes into an organization like the Indiana Fever that hadn't made the playoffs, done all these things for many, many years, and she bumps attendance like that to where they're averaging over 16,000 fans per game, then Angel Reese, if she's also the number one reason, which your teammate, as I were calling teammate, also said, then why doesn't she have that same effect on whether the team is good or not? People should be flooding in if they have the same effect on women's basketball as Caitlin does.
If Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were still playing in a barn, they wouldn't be averaging 16,000 fans.
They wouldn't be playing in a barn because they moved them.
No, I know that's what I'm saying.
Because
If
the demand was so high.
And if the Sky played in the United Center, they could also average 15,000 plus fans as well.
But they didn't sell out even the arena that they were playing in. That's not the United Center.
So speaking of Angel Reese, we're going to talk about the level of celebrity, and we're talking about viewership and how it all correlates. Angel is the player president of the WNBA, period. So this is the Angel show. What I'm saying is that she's a Victoria's Secret Angel now. She has one of the highest yielding shoes for the WNBA. She has broken astronomical records. Her numbers are inconceivable. If Caitlin was that level of celebrity, she really doesn't. She does have her endorsements, and I've seen her, but she doesn't have anything individualistic pertaining to herself. Like her brand outside of what she does, which is kind of minimal, but Paige is actually, honestly, has comparable numbers and more consistency if we're going to get technical. But just comparing her and Angel, she can't compete where she can't compare. So
I would agree with you that I think that Angel is the poster child for what you can do with your brand outside of basketball. And she has been such an incredible role model when it comes to all of those things. What I'm talking about is raising women's basketball.
For sure.
So when we talk about attendance, viewership, jersey sales. Again, even Caitlin Clark was number 2 in jersey sales of all basketball jerseys. The only person in front of her was Steph Curry. And in the top 10 was all NBA players. Caitlin Clark was number 2. So no, does Caitlin Clark do fashion shows and different things? I think they're 2 different personalities. And I also don't want to take away from Angel because she's been amazing on the court and amazing off the court. But when you talk about the impact that both of them have had, Caitlin's has been much greater.
I could see where you're saying that, and I definitely agree with some of the points you've made, but I just feel like Angel, one, with her injury, she didn't have a full season, so we got to kind of negate that. She didn't get to work at her highest potential. Secondly, talking about Caitlin and her appeal to the game, I feel like it's just too how do we say, it's overhyped. Like, she's doing what she needs to do to bring viewership in, but outside of bringing the people in, it's like, what are we here for?
What do you mean, what are we here for? Millions of people are there.
For sure. They're seeing
and
it.
I guess all I'm saying is it's totally fine if you're not a fan of Caitlin's game, you don't enjoy the way that she plays. I'm speaking in terms of numbers and statistics that back up why she is the number one reason for the growth in women's basketball, not just how I feel about her game.
I just feel like she's getting this esteem because of proximity. Like we're saying, she's come from her home.
Who? Proximity of?
Proximity from her college career. She didn't get a ring in college, which is okay. Everyone doesn't get one. But now she's able to take her fan base and kind of just bring it in. Like, she's bringing in numbers. She's bringing in, as you can say, she's filling up her arena. Everything's amazing about that. But I just feel like she's just one of the girls. She couldn't even beat the other players in the top 5 on a one-on-one game.
Okay. Well, a little disrespectful,
Okay.
but I'll catch you on the next one. My next claim is Caitlin Clark is already the face of the WNBA. I hear the laughter.
Rachel, I love your content,
Thank you so much.
but I hate this claim.
All
She,
right.
the face of the WNBA.
Absolutely.
Marketability, she's there, but have you ever heard of the other 22? Asia Wilson? Asia Bam Adebayo Wilson. This is the camera, right? Asia Bam Adebayo Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same Asia Wilson who in the same 2 years that Caitlin Clark was in the league, back-to-back MVP. Same Asia Wilson in the same 2 years that Caitlin Clark was in the league, won a championship. The same Asia Wilson who got the Infinity Gauntlet. We seen it. Finals MVP, the MVP, the 1,000th points. I could go on forever. And she did so many things before Caitlin got to the league. Now, the marketability, she's there. I agree with you. She got all of that. But there is still a long way for her to go, especially when you consider the fact that in her second year, she only played half. Only played, 27 games just around?
She played 13 games in her
13
second.
games,
Yeah.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's very short
Less than
season.
half, yes, less than half of the season. So in order for you to be the face of the league, you first have to be one of the best players in the league, comparable to an Asia Wilson.
I would agree with you that I think Asia Wilson is the best player and most dominant player in the league. But let's look at the NBA, for example. Who would you say is the face of the NBA?
Right now, there's multiple faces. LeBron's been there for a while.
Who's the face?
I can't tell you there's one player. I can't say it's SGA. I can't say it's Jokic. I can't say KD. They always talk about the big three. They're looking for their new face right now. I would say it's
Right.
Anthony Edwards, but we're not there yet.
Yes, I would say Anthony Edwards isn't even close. So when you look at the NBA,
Who would you say is the face of the league?
if we look at the best players in the NBA right now, SGA
Yes.
just won Finals MVP. He should be, with your argument, as Asia is the face of the WNBA.
Okay.
SGA should be the face of the NBA. He's not.
Okay, but who
I would
is?
still say it's Steph Curry, LeBron James, or Luka would be those three people.
So you agree with me?
Luka, first off, Luka's leading in jersey sales in
Right,
the NBA.
right.
There's no way Jokic is the face of the NBA. Jokic is. I would argue that Jokic is the best player in the league.
Yeah,
So
go ahead,
that's what.
sorry.
So in Asia's dominance, I don't want to take away from that. And I think what she's doing is incredible. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Clark coming into the WNBA helped put so much more spotlight on Asia, which is
100%.
deserved.
100%.
Absolutely 1,000% deserved. But when you talk about the face of the WNBA, like we've talked about with attendance, with jersey sales, with how many people just know of Caitlin Clark, the impact that she's made on the WNBA, that makes her the face. The face is not always decided by how great the player is.
I 100% agree with you, but I would also say to you, Rachel, they're going to clip this, Rachel. I'm telling you right now. They're
Let's
going to
go.
give the Caitlin Clark is
Clip
the face
'em.
of the league, and they're going to come after you. I get it. I understand it.
I'm used to it.
But here's the thing. You said you agree with me. You would say it's Steph. You would say it's LeBron. You would say what? KD, Shea, Jokic, or Luka. Sorry, you said Luka. That means those guys, there's no definitive face of the league. The WNBA has a definitive face. That would be Asia Bam Adebayo Wilson. Right? Am I tripping or am I missing something?
I wholeheartedly disagree. And then we can also talk about the All-Star voting. Asia wasn't even in that top 3. So.
Okay, but again.
And then
Asia-
again, that's fan votes. And
Mm-hmm.
when I think about the face of the league, it's truly about just the impact that the fans have.
But here's the thing. It's topsy-turvy, it sounds like here, because you have Caitlin Clark, who has the fans who want to watch for her, but you have Asia Wilson, who's been in the league for 8 years, arguably since 2020, has been the best player in the league, has been at the top of the league doing all of the things that she's done. But the marketability that Caitlin brings is awesome, but she still has to have the accolades to support her to be the face.
I think Asia's the most dominant, but not the face. We have a Liberty face?
Yeah. Well,
Are we going back to Asia?
I will say Asia's for sure the face of the WNBA, but thank you.
Can I ask really quick what your metric is for the face of the league?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I think for you to be the face of a league, you need to be inherently great, right? The people you were mentioning for the face of the NBA are some of the greatest players in that league. I don't think Caitlin Clark's one of the greatest in the league, mostly because she's only 2 years in. I think it's disrespectful to everyone else who's had a full career in that league to be like, oh, she's the GOAT.
So
that's crazy to me.
So you know how we're talking about multiple faces, right?
Yes.
And I even listed 3. When we look at last season, her rookie season, which is probably the best basis that we have for her style of play, she was top 4 in MVP voting. So even if we're going to go as far as 4 faces of the league, she's top 4, and that's not a fan vote. That's her greatness. So if you're going to talk about the top 5 players of the league, she was there in her first season in the WNBA.
For fan vote, for no other metric.
No, there was no fan voting in MVP voting.
Oh,
I'm
no.
saying
Okay, yes.
she was
For
first
MVP.
team
Okay,
all
I was
WNBA.
talking about All-Star, but yes.
Yes,
So,
and also number
here's
1
the
at the
thing,
All-Star
though.
voting.
She's 2 years in. She...
like 1 1/4 years in.
Exactly. She's missing more time than she's playing, honestly. It's crazy to me, and I think it's a little bit disrespectful to a lot of the players that are playing the entire season and have more seasons served in the WNBA. I think it's disrespectful to write them off.
I think it would be disrespectful if I was saying that Caitlin was a better basketball player than Asia.
Okay.
That would be disrespectful.
But I think how you play basketball plays into being the face or not, right? So I don't think she's I'll go back to college even, because that's where she got a lot of her stardom, right? I don't think she was the best in college. She didn't win a national championship. She wasn't better than some of those players out there. When she comes into the WNBA, I don't think she's the best here. If she was, she'd win at MVP. She didn't, right? I don't think she's the best on her team. She doesn't lead her team in points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, any statistic. She's not leading. She's not leading her team this season. The only stat she's leading is most missed games. She's not there. She's not there. How can you be the face of something if you don't show up?
Try to be nice.
She's not the face.
Okay, so again, we're talking about best player and face. I do think she's the best player on the Indiana Fever. No, this season, it was cut very short, and I do think it's disrespectful to put someone down for having a lingering injury that started before the season started. When we talk about the face of the league, speaking of her injury, when she got injured, attendance and viewership dropped 55% across the entire league.
So people stopped watching when they went to the playoffs?
Not just
because they made a deep run without her.
Hold on. Not just for the Fever, for the entire league. So when you talk about the face, that is the face. People are tuning in mostly to watch Caitlin Clark.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I highly doubt that regular season had higher viewership than the playoffs did. She was not there for the playoffs. She was only there for the regular season.
Do you not understand what I'm saying?
Not really. No, I'm not going to lie to you. You said there was higher viewership after the injury.
It was like this. And then when she got injured, dropped 55%.
Okay.
And yes, it went back up for the
playoffs.
playoffs.
Because
what I'm
her
saying,
team started playing better without her. They made a deep run into the playoffs.
And we got another argument for that later on. So we'll talk about that.
I'm going to start off this conversation by saying that I am a Dario Saric stan, right? And that sounds crazy. In 2017, he came second place in Rookie of the Year voting. Okay. The next year after that, Ben Simmons, Rookie of the Year, right? And I know it was a crazy segue. Anyway. Anyway, the two words I have for you at this moment are Ben Simmons. Would you have said in, let's say, I don't know, he was getting those LeBron comparisons, out of college. He had Magic Johnson comparisons as well. He had those incredible, didn't have a 3-point shot, but those, 2 or 3 years on the Sixers where he was looking like he was going to be a mainstay all-star, and then he fell off. And Caitlin Clark is also 2 years into her career. We cannot say in any way that she's the face of the league if you wouldn't have said in 2019, 2020 that Ben Simmons was the face of the NBA.
Well, Ben Simmons didn't have nearly the same impact as Caitlin. The WNBA didn't have charter flights for its entire existence until she walked into that league. Immediately. They had one incident at the airport, get them the planes.
Okay.
So Ben Simmons, yes, Cooper Flagg has been compared to LeBron. Zion has been compared to LeBron. There's many of rookies that have been like, oh, they're going to be the next great. Again, so many, I'm not saying that she's the best player currently at this time. And we don't know. Maybe she won't be the face in 4 league. The faces of all leagues change.
Right.
At this point in time, she's absolutely the face. All right, my next claim is the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark more than Caitlin Clark needs the WNBA. Do you want me to explain it first, by the way? Because it seems a little broad.
Okay.
I don't mean that she does not need basketball to maintain Caitlin Clark. I mean, like, her brand as Caitlin Clark. If she stepped away from the W, went to a different league, a lot of fans would follow.
No, I can't say that because, however, before anything of that, she was the face of her college basketball years, right? Towards that, Caitlin doesn't have that much of a career, most likely outside of basketball. Because first, I don't see that yet. Now with Angel Reese, she has a bunch.
Yeah,
of
that's
deals.
why I wanted to make sure that I made it clear. Like, I'm not saying that if she quit basketball and did something completely different. I'm saying if she stepped away, started a Caitlin league, or went to one of these other leagues and the WNBA was running alongside, the WNBA would need her more than if she went to these other to play basketball, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that she's quitting and going and doing something else.
But the WNBA wouldn't exactly need as far as Caitlin Clark. Okay, let me ask you, why do you think when Caitlin came into the league, what's her main thing? Like, as far as, like, what is her main thing that she does? Like, she's known for right now, currently.
As far as skill-wise?
Yes, currently. Like, what is she, like, what is the main thing, like,
I would
she's
say
known for?
deep threes and her playmaking.
Okay, cool.
For sure.
Great, exactly. But we had Sabrina. We have Sabrina.
Absolutely.
Even as far as Sabrina, before Caitlin even came in, they had their own 3-point contest with Stephen Curry and Sabrina.
I know, I was there in person. It was amazing.
Amazing.
It was incredible.
Then even with that, in the WNBA 3-point contest, Sabrina has the record of the NBA and WNBA of most threes for 37 points.
I'm
way
a huge
before
fan
that.
of Sabrina's, and I completely agree with you that Sabrina is an incredible player. Talk about Kelsey Plum, also had an incredible run in college. But when they came into the league, we didn't see the boom that we saw with Caitlin. There's one person who created that boom, and it was Caitlin. For whatever reason that is, I think there's a lot of things that went into play. It was the perfect storm, the perfect mix with Caitlin Clark. But Sabrina, she didn't make the leap like Caitlin
Okay,
did.
but that's not what I'm saying. However, it's just only bad timing, only because LSU and Iowa, they had the most views in the championship. Then when Caitlin Clark got drafted, as well as with Angel Reese, of course that's going to be a bunch of views. Everybody's coming in, endorsement deals, skyrocket attendance, and jersey sales, like you said. But that was all around that time.
Can we talk about that for a second, though? So you're talking about this game, right?
Yes.
This
Yes.
game. Yeah. Sorry. So before, if you look, and I did a little research, if you look at the Google Trends before that game, people were searching Caitlin Clark. First Take was doing full segments on Caitlin Clark, saying that she is the biggest brand in college basketball, not just in women's, in the men's. This was all before. John Cena tweeted out about Caitlin Clark, saying, when she did the You Can't See Me this was before the LSU game, before Angel Reese was doing it. And then we go to that championship game. The viewership was around 10 million for that game. The following year, when they played again, it was around 10 million. And then the viewership continued to go up. So that next game against UConn after Iowa beat LSU, viewership goes up. Then the most viewed game was that South Carolina game. The undefeated South Carolina team, Dawn Staley coaching, was, I think, average 18 to 19 million and peaked over 20 million. That was actually the highest viewed game, and Angel Reese was not a part of that.
So I think to start, just looking at this question, I think it's important to consider that I don't think the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. And I think this season was a good proxy to see that because Caitlin Clark missed a lot of the season. And what did we see? The Fever had an amazing run in the playoffs. They were an OT game away from making it and losing to the eventual champions, the Aces. Not only that, I think one person we haven't mentioned in this debate so far is Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell is the best team on the Indiana Fever currently. She averaged 20 points per game, is the franchise leading scorer with 20.2 points or 890 points total, passing Caitlin Clark from last year. And not only that, you could say, oh, it was an injury this season. But let's look at the stats when Kelsey Mitchell was with Caitlin Clark in 2024. Kelsey Mitchell had a win share of 3.7, which was more than Caitlin Clark, and win share is basically a statistic like WAR in MLB. So she contributed more to her team's success when Caitlin Clark was out.
Okay. I think we're arguing different points because we're talking about the whole of the WNBA and the boom and the attendance and the viewership and the eyeballs that have come to women's basketball because of Caitlin. Even when we talk about the CBA negotiations that they're in right now, max salary was $220,000. Now they're offering over $1 million for that max salary. All of that has come because of this boom. When we also talk about the offers that Caitlin Clark has gotten from these off-season leagues, we talk about Unrivaled. They talked about the Messi-like offer that they were trying to give to Caitlin Clark because they know if they bring Caitlin Clark in, that is going to boost their league. We talk about the big three, $10 million to Caitlin Clark to come play in that league because Cube knows that's going to boost their league if they get Caitlin Clark. So that's what I'm talking about, the kind of impact that she has on a basketball league, even if it's not the WNBA. We talk about the Annika golf tournament, the highest viewership that they have for a golf tournament. Caitlin Clark is not a professional golfer, but there's so many people who are ready and waiting to see her do pretty much anything. So I'm talking about if she went to go play basketball somewhere else, a lot of fans would follow.
Fair, but I think if you look at the concepts,
so again, and also huge fan of Kelsey Mitchell. She's incredible, and in no part of any of these arguments do I want to actively put down other players who are also incredible.
I think it's interesting you say that, but I would say for a player viewpoint standpoint, 2 for 35. Do you know what that stat was? That was the stat of Caitlin Clark's three-point shooting percentage on the road this year. That's 5%. And the reason I'm mentioning that statistic is because I know as a fan, I don't know if I would be wanting to watch a product where a person is shooting 10% below league average this year at 27% three-point field goal percentage, 35% from field goal percentage in general. I think this was a lot due to the college game, the LSU rivalry, as she mentioned, and just the viewership that got really hyped from that in the social media, and it kind of was a convergence of that carried over into WNBA. But Caitlin Clark's production in WNBA really has not lived up to the standards that she has at Iowa.
Last point, totally fair. If you don't want to watch her play, or if she's having a stinker game, millions of people do, and the numbers show differently. So, my next claim, Caitlin Clark is the best point guard in the WNBA.
Massive fan.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, been watching you for a long time.
But now you're a massive hater, right?
I am a hater.
Wait, no, hold up.
I wrote you a poem.
Nah.
I wrote you a poem.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
Can I get people behind me? It's like a battle rap.
Oh. I've never been battle rap too. Let me gear up for this.
I don't need a beat. I just need a lot of You know?
All right, let's see what we got. Let's go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I figure that's a safe place to start.
Oh, this is like a speakeasy type of thing.
Kinda.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Okay, here we go. Let's go.
You're way too smart to try to take this place apart with your takes. I'll seal your fate. You better embrace this part. This debate is about the GOAT, and it ain't Caitlin Clark.
Wow.
Let me talk to him. If we talking bio, I'd have had my eye on her since Iowa. She's an all-star, rookie of the year. I'm inspired, bro. Triple doubles, record-breaking stats, they starting to pile up. But of course she's getting points with all the wild shots she fires up. I'm fired up. Y'all want her to be Kobe? I'm annoyed. At least he got some rings and then go 1 for 24. Ooh. Her team don't need her. They need a leader. The Fever won a lot this year, my boy. She went into that slump and the hype was done, I fear. There's more. To say that she's the GOAT is really crazy from the jump. This argument is dumb. Man, come debate me when she's won. And you can say she brought more hype and attention to the league, but if the league was so saved, the CBA would be a breeze. I'm talking about players, better guards. I can name like 10 guards that I'm taking before. Ryan, Leash, Jackie, Chelsea, Kelsey Plum, Gimme Sky, Arike, Jewel, Courtney Williams. That's 9. And what does Shannon Sharp say? Paige Becker's in 5. So
I appreciate the creativity.
That's my argument. That's my argument.
That was fun. That was fun.
Anxious to hear what you have to say, though.
Okay, so the take. Sorry, best point guard in the league. You named a bunch of fantastic guards in the WNBA.
Are you going to get into wordplay point guard?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I said. Point guard.
Okay.
Yeah. So who do you have over Caitlin?
Everyone I listed. Sky.
They're not all point guards, though. What point guards do you have?
If we're talking basketball in this year, A guard is a guard.
When we talk about Caitlin, I feel like for the whole of this debate, we have to talk about her first season plus the 13 games, because her second season, she was injured before the season even started. I will be the first to admit it was not her greatest season, even when she was on the court, but it seemed like she was battling ailments. So who do you got over her?
Everyone I listed. Sky, Ryan Howard. Is she a 1 to you?
So what if statistically she cleared all of them? And I know for a fact she clears Sabrina, Kelsey, Skylar, Chelsea Gray.
Okay,
I'm talking statistically.
We're talking numbers, but
in her rookie season, she led the league in 3-point makes and assists. So when you think about a point guard, what are the traits that matter in that point guard? And what, in these players that you listed, how are they better than her?
there's two things that I would say. One is leadership. Looking at her as a player, when all the schemes are made for you to be successful and you have the ball in your hand all the time, you're going to get the numbers. A great comparison to that is Trae Young. He has stats that are very similar to Caitlin's, and I think that's probably the perfect one-to-one comparison. But when it comes to being great, I don't know if it's just about stats. Secondly, I'll take the players into account. There's an element that a lot of people on podcasts that you probably listen to, that people talk about all the time, and it's like kind of like a respect level for the person that's on the court. Caitlin doesn't put a level of fear. I would say
she gets face guarded and double teamed full court.
I don't think that's fear. That's appreciation because you know that she's talented, but I feel like there's no level of like, oh, Caitlin's playing, I got to make sure I step up. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with you on that, but
disagree?
I'll catch you in the next round for sure.
You want to talk stats? I came with some stats. So, Caitlin Clark, you said we wanted to talk about not just this season because she was hurt. She played like 13 games.
Right.
If we're talking
Absolutely.
her entire WNBA career, like 50-ish games, she shot below league average from the field, 40% from the field. Granted, like guards do shoot. They don't shoot like bigs. They're not shooting in the 50s usually. She's below average, 4% below average from the field. She's below average from three over the last 2 seasons, her entire career, 33% from three. Like, that's league average. That is quite literally below average. And if we're talking that she is the best point guard in the league, yet she is below average, 5.5 turnovers a game, no other player in the W had more than 4. And she has the ball a lot. Her player efficiency, or her usage rate, 31%, that will be 6th in NBA history. And they have shorter games, too. The numbers don't back it up.
Yes, because statistically, when we talk about points, assists, she's also, by the way, I'm going to break down a few things. She's 3rd all-time already in triple-doubles from... Why are you striking that off?
That doesn't move me that much. Like,
why, though?
It doesn't matter because she has the ball in her hand so much. She has the ball in her hand so much that she's getting assists. I just said her usage rate is so high. Okay. That's like Russell Westbrook in 2016. His usage rate was so high.
In her rookie season, she generated the most points of any other player in the league by a lot, like hundreds. So you can't just talk about just her putting points on the board, but also how many she generated for her teammates also. That's how much she's contributing. When I think about a point guard, that's exactly what we need, is to help generate buckets for my team. All right. That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Her team is loaded. The Indiana Fever get the #1 pick and they're a loaded team. All right, you guys. Go on.
But then,
all right.
They were 500.
So then we'll go back.
Season.
Would you say the best players in the WNBA or MVPs, would you say A'ja Wilson's the best?
Yeah.
So again, rookie season, Caitlin Clark was the only point guard in first team all WNBA. So
she shouldn't have been. That was given was gifted to her because of
I don't know what to say
impact
to
they see
that.
people
She should have been. Some people say that A'ja shouldn't have been MVP. It should have been Nafisa. So
why?
I don't say that. But I'm saying listen. I'm not saying that. I have been calling for A'ja to be MVP the entire season, but I'm saying we can do that argument that, well, she should have been. Like,
my point is, Caitlin Clark generates the most shots, the most assists because the ball is in her hand disproportionately way more than any other player in the WNBA. That's why she has 5.5 turnovers a game more than anyone else.
Do you know who leads the WNBA all time in turnovers?
Who?
Diana Taurasi. Do you know who's second on that list? Do you know who's second on that list? Nope. Sue Bird.
Yeah, because
these
they
are
have
two
they
of
have
the
longevity.
Do you know who leads the league in turnovers in the NBA? LeBron James.
Because of the longevity, not because of the per game stats. Caitlin Clark is doing it per game. They have the longevity.
Do you know who?
That's why they lead the league.
Do you know who led the league in turnovers last season for the WNBA? Was Alyssa Thomas. Like these
You
are
mean
great.
total or per game? No,
Either.
Caitlin Clark was per game. Caitlin Clark was 5.5 per game.
I'm saying this 2025 season. It's Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, but
one of
also
the
Caitlin
greatest
Clark-
players in the WNBA. So it's not a good argument. And Caitlin is the only person where this argument is like, oh, she's great. But her turnovers. It's like she's the only person that we use that as an element to try to tear her down.
It's so egregiously more. It's so much more.
You guys are saying numbers, but I'm saying all the numbers, and we just ignore that to talk about turnovers. It's weird. It's a little weird. You have to admit.
So I think
you have to admit, though.
I think the reason why, in this argument specifically, why people harp on turnovers is because, not saying you do this, but a lot of Caitlin Clark fans view Caitlin Clark as this blameless basketball entity, right? We talk about how great she is as a shooter, her gravity, her playmaking, which is all great, but the same way that, there are other basketball players who have flaws, Caitlin Clark has a flaw. And the reason why so many people harp on turnovers, I'm not going to do that, but the reason why so many people harp on turnovers is because as a point guard, your job is to take care of the basketball. And if you look at a lot of the turnovers she had, we won't talk about the 13 games, but if you look at a lot of the turnovers her rookie season, a lot of it is just she's moving too fast. The get-ahead passes are great, but she's moving too fast. They're too far ahead of her. The way that she processes the game is faster than most. But that leads to careless passes out of bounds, passes where her teammates aren't able to corral the ball and actually grab it. I think that's why people harp on that. But I do want to answer your question because you said Caitlin was the best point guard, and unlike the other two people, no one actually said who the best point guard in the WNBA is.
Let me know.
Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. There is a reason why we call her the point guard, and I think there's.
You think Chelsea Gray currently is the best point guard in the WNBA?
I think today there is no better point guard in the WNBA than Chelsea Gray.
All right,
Yeah.
let's hear it. Let's hear why.
I think there's a couple different reasons. First of all, again, when you talk about what a point guard is, right? The point guard is the one who takes care of the basketball. She runs the offense, right? You mentioned earlier that Caitlin Clark statistically outranks a lot of these other point guards, Chelsea Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, et cetera, et cetera. What I would say in defense of that is, unlike these other point guards, Caitlin Clark is the number one option on her team. Right? Chelsea Gray plays with the best player in basketball. She doesn't have to go out there and lead the team in points. Sabrina Ionescu plays with Jonquil Jones and Brianna Stewart. She doesn't have to go out there and lead the team in points. Right? Even if you look at an Alicia Gray or even if you look at a Courtney Williams, they play alongside other great players where they don't have to carry the scoring load that Caitlin does.
If she doesn't have to carry the scoring load, then why isn't she leading Caitlin in the assist category? Because she's also not leading in that category. If she has better players to give the ball up to, wouldn't she have more assists also? But she doesn't.
So if we go back to Chelsea Gray specifically,
yeah.
If we go back to Chelsea Gray specifically, the guard room in Vegas is so much better, right? So you don't just have Chelsea Gray, you also have Jackie Young, who handles playmaking responsibilities as well. And so again, I think, and I'm not saying this to discredit Caitlin. All I'm saying is Caitlin's situation is very unique in that Caitlin is the system in Indiana.
But you guys are arguing that Kelsey Mitchell is the best player on the team. And then a lot of people in the audience said, it's a stacked team. Their team's stacked. So if their team is stacked, then that's the same argument. So then
Caitlin Clark is the only playmaker on her team. There is not another true playmaker on her team.
Okay, so now, but we moved the bar a little bit. You moved the
move
bar
it?
a little bit.
How?
Because you went from Chelsea Gray doesn't have to score the basketball to, she also doesn't have to score and also doesn't have to play make. So that makes her the best point guard.
No. What I was saying was because you brought up the Kelsey Mitchell point. What I'm saying is Caitlin Clark's situation is a very unique situation. Caitlin Clark arrived and she is the system. They've tailor-made the system to be like Caitlin. So yes, to your point about her leading everyone statistically, when you are the system, you should lead everyone else in points and assists and things of that nature, but that doesn't take away from the intangibles that I think make Chelsea Gray a better true point guard. She's better. She's a better leader. She's a better passer. She's a better playmaker. Her vision is better. Her IQ is better, and she's a better winner. She wins more than Caitlin Clark does.
Okay. Caitlin's had one season to try. All right, my next claim. If Caitlin Clark did not get hurt, the Indiana Fever would have won a championship last season. Welcome back.
I know, right? Keep sending me up here. Okay. My main disagreement, I think, is just when you look at what Caitlin did in those 13 games. I'm not saying, so it was mentioned earlier, she went 2 for 35 on the road from three-point range this season, right? And I think that does matter. I think the Indiana Fever was a really good basketball team. I think, though, that the reason why they were able to make it as far as they did is because the team, in my opinion, was slightly better constructed post Caitlin Clark injury than beforehand. And what I mean by that is they were kind of able to lean more into the strengths of Aaliyah Boston, lean more into the strengths of Kelsey Mitchell, right? We saw Odyssey Sims come in here and play really good basketball as well. And I just don't know for sure, with the liability that Caitlin Clark is defensively, I don't know if for sure we would have looked at the Indiana Fever on the defensive side of the ball the same way if Caitlin wasn't hurt. And their defense is, I think, the part of this whole story from last season that goes untalked about, because their defense is a big part of the reason why they were able to win the games they won and push the Aces to the limit the way that they did in their series as well.
I think saying that the team was better constructed after she got injured is a wild take, because they were literally a hospital team. And
they were
a hardship and hospital team. I think at the end of the day, they had like 17 players who were on that roster. So like, that's crazy. They were just grabbing players. There was Ariel Powers, who hadn't been in the league, Odyssey Sims, Ari McDonald, who was a hardship contract player and then got injured. And then Chloe Bibby was also a hardship contract player and then she got injured. Sophie Cunningham went down. Caitlin went down. Like, Sid Colson went down. They were bringing in players who hadn't played all season. So and they took the Aces. I personally don't think that Aces team that won last season is the best Aces team that we've seen.
No, for sure. And I wouldn't say that either.
So I think with Caitlin Clark on the floor, the kind of gravity that she demands from other teams' defense, and also Caitlin Clark's defense got significantly better this season. When we talk about Chelsea Gray, also cleared her in the blocks and steals category. So if we want to talk about what we just talked about, point guards, right?
Sure.
So when it comes to the defensive end, there's just no way in my mind, and I hate the argument when they say, oh, this Indiana Fever team is better without Caitlin. You see the kind of defense that they have to do. And we've also heard coaches talk about, Sandy Brondello was asked, what are the two hardest players to scout? She said Asia and Caitlin.
So I don't disagree with that. And so you're right. When I say better constructed, I mean more so when you think about Steph White and who Steph White is a coach, right? Think about what she did in Connecticut. It's defensive physicality. Caitlin Clark, not a physical basketball player. And Caitlin Clark, while yes, she did get better defensively, not a good defensive player either. I'm thinking about how the Phoenix Mercury were able to manipulate things in their series with the reverse two-man game. No. Hold on. What I'm saying is, when I think about the schemes that we saw Nate Tibbetts implement with the Phoenix Mercury as far as the inverted screens to get Alyssa Thomas her looks, right? We could have seen the Aces do the exact same thing and other teams do the exact same thing if Caitlin Clark was on the floor, because Caitlin Clark's not a good defender. Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd would have had a field day with Caitlin Clark. Field day with Caitlin Clark. Ryan Howard, big guard, would have had a field day with Caitlin Clark. That's all I'm saying. So you're right. Not better constructed. I think the team fit more into who Steph White is a coach as far as physicality and defense, and I don't think
so. The
Caitlin
Fever
Clark
won't
fits
win
that.
with Steph White as coach if Caitlin's on that team.
I don't think that. No, I think they can. I just think last season with who they had to play, I don't think last season's road to a championship would have been the one for them to win. Is all I'm saying.
Got it. Cool.
I just want to start off by saying, before the season began, when I saw those moves they made, Sophie Cunningham, they brought in Natasha Howard, who was a massive piece. I was one of the first people to say that I think they could win the championship that year. But when I saw the way that the Las Vegas Aces looked when they went on that run, 15 straight wins and 16 until they lost in the first round to Seattle, that's when my mind changed. And I wanted to say the injuries are legit, but that is what allowed players like Leah Boston, you had Kelsey Mitchell, you had other players who were able to step up and be able to be their best version of themselves, to be able to contribute. We saw Kelsey Mitchell with the injury. What was it? The leg injury where her entire body shut down?
Oh, yeah, that was scary.
Which was very scary.
I mean, by the end, I feel like they were all kind of running. Lexi Hall was
Running
dealing
on fumes.
with like
Absolutely.
back stuff. Yeah, it was crazy.
My thing is, when you watch them play with Caitlin Clark, like Marcus said, the offensive players would have had a field day with her, would have put in so many screening roles. And we also see in the playoffs the way that schemes are ran. You know, every game is a different game. Everyone knows what you're going to do. And Caitlin Clark, you send her left. I'm sure you've seen it. The way that she goes left, she struggles. She overcompensates sometimes. The three-point shooting is something that she struggled with. These are all things that when it comes to playoff basketball against the Aces team that has all the experience in the world, the most experience of any team in the WNBA, it's hard for me to sit here and say they would have won it after what I've seen them do.
So I guess the argument that you're all making is that the Indiana Fever team is better without Caitlin Clark on the floor?
Not that they're better without them. It's just the way the system is put in for her, the schemes, the way that they run the offense. Like, you've noticed that the ball's in her hands most of the time, but without her, when she steps off, when she's off the ball, she struggles because she doesn't know what to do after that.
She's not naturally a two guard, so I feel like she fits best in the point guard position, and everybody else does better too.
You can,
but you can even look at and I think that's something maybe
like
she'll work.
Steph,
she'll work on. Yeah, and I think that's something she should probably watch Steph's game, and like if she implements that, scary hours. That's going to be crazy. But if you look at Aaliyah Boston's stats with Caitlin Clark, she generates most of Aaliyah Boston's points. So there's an argument to be made that maybe Aaliyah Boston would have even stepped up to a next level if Caitlin Clark was on the floor with her.
But Aaliyah Boston doesn't go on that run she had in the second half of that season with Caitlin Clark. Because with her having
Wait,
the
what
ball,
do you mean?
her having the ball in her hands, her being the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 option.
But that doesn't make sense if she creates the most points for Aaliyah. How could Aaliyah not go on the run?
Because Aaliyah Boston learned how to play in the post. She learned how to bang bodies. She wasn't just screening and rolling and screening and popping. She was able to go and get her own baskets. Her game developed. Kelsey Mitchell, the same thing.
So as a
We were able to
one-on-one
see that.
player.
No, as a one-on-one player, no. More so like within the system, within the team atmosphere. With Kelsey Mitchell over here, you had the other players who were on the wing, finding her own game, not just playing off of Caitlin Clark, which is most players on the Fever do.
Okay, so do you think that they can win with Coach Steph White and the current players that the Indiana Fever have? Or do you think now when Caitlin Clark goes back into the mix for next season, because these players have, I guess, developed more since she's not on the court, they're going to be literally unstoppable?
No, I think that's a coaching thing. That's where she comes in. Coach White comes in and figures out a way to incorporate that. Like Caitlin, like we said, she needs to learn how to get off the ball, passes. Like Jordan when he came into the league. You know, he was scoring. He was always has bars. Phil Jackson came in. You need to learn to trust your teammates.
Yeah.
Not saying Caitlin Clark needs to learn how to trust her teammates. She just needs to learn how to play within the team system so the team succeeds more. That's all.
Team system.
In terms of winning.
I know, no.
Not
And I
just
get
stats
that.
stuff
And
like
I really actually really appreciate this exchange. But I think that it's hard to say that she fits into the team system when, again, even in her rookie season, like broke the single game assist record with
That's
19.
an individual accomplishment.
I know, but that helps the team. Assists help the team.
They do, but wins and losses. I mean, first year, I'm not going to sit here and do that.
But
It's her
they
first
did make
year.
it to the
They made it
playoffs in
to
her
playoffs,
first
yeah.
year.
So I'm
So,
not gonna
and a
do that.
lot
That's
of
unfair.
rookies didn't.
That's
So
extremely unfair to say that.
But I like this. Yeah,
me too. And it's just ultimately, if you watch the games, you would see Caitlin Clark struggles a lot with like going to her left or what to do when the pick and roll is no longer there, or Kelsey Mitchell cutting from the baseline. You know, so these are all things she needs to learn.
Good thing she's got a lot more time
got
left. My next claim, Caitlin Clark deserved to be on the 2024 Olympic team.
So I'm just going to keep it very simple.
Let's go.
As anything with life, there are rules that you have to follow. We agree with that. Yes. In order
Sure.
to do things, in order
Sure.
for me to get a job, I have to apply. I have to have a
Sure.
resume. Okay, great. So, unlike every other team that was selected to be on the 2024 Olympic team, Caitlin Clark did not participate in training camp. I understand that she didn't play in training camp because she was competing for a national championship. I got that. When they had the camps, she was in the Final Four, and then the day after, or 2 days after, was the national championship game. That was the year that they played South Carolina in the national championship game, so she wasn't there. She also didn't participate in any of the other prerequisite things that all the other players participated in to be on the team. So I don't think Caitlin Clark was left off the team because they didn't think she was good enough or because they didn't think she would have benefited the team. She was left off the team because she didn't do the other things that all the other players who were on the team did to be on the team.
Two things. Why was Diana Taurasi and Candace Parker taken then in their rookie seasons when they were also playing?
Because Diana Taurasi and Candace Parker in their rookie seasons participated in training camps beforehand.
So their training camps weren't at the same time as Caitlin's was?
I don't believe so, no.
Regardless of that, when the committee came out and said the reason why they chose the players that they did, they said that her not participating in those things did not hurt her chances. So they explicitly came out and said that. They said that they chose the 12 best players. My argument is, how could that be the 12 best players that you chose when those 12 best players got beat by 12 All-Stars in the WNBA All-Star game?
The All-Star game is an exhibition, and we all know that.
Did you watch that? Did you watch that game?
No, I did.
They played hard.
They did play. They played really well.
They played very hard.
Really well in that game. But also, we're talking about the 12 best
So
players.
they were face guarding Caitlin full court in that game.
Going back to what they were saying earlier, that's just what you do when you have a player who has that much gravity. I don't think that's necessarily that automatically
Absolutely.
equates to.
So if she has that much gravity, why would that not translate to any other game?
Because unlike every other player, Caitlin Clark has never played overseas. And you and I can both agree that overseas basketball, because it's officiated different, is more physical.
So
And
then
Caitlin
why
Clark,
did Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi go when they also hadn't done that and they were fresh out of college?
Because Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi played in the tours and things where they got to play international players. Caitlin Clark didn't have that. Caitlin Clark can't handle the physicality of the WNBA, and you want me to think that Caitlin Clark can handle the physicality of FIBA officiated basketball? There's no way that could be possible.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say on this is I also think, and I would like to get your honest opinion on this, I know you're a Caitlin Clark fan, is as a Caitlin Clark fan, there's a lot of people out there who are saying, well, Caitlin Clark should have just been on the team just because, so that more people could watch. As a fan of Caitlin Clark, as someone who likes watching Caitlin Clark play basketball, Would you have been okay if they just brought Caitlin Clark over to the Olympics and sat her at the end of the bench in the Olympics just for the sake of eyes? Or would you rather us see what we're going to see in 2028, which is Caitlin Clark be an integral part of the team and be a reason why they bring home another gold medal?
I don't think she would have sat at the end of the bench.
You don't think so?
No, I absolutely
With
don't.
Cheryl Reeve's history of not playing young players, you think she would have?
I don't think she should have sat at the end of I think that she is better than multiple players that they brought over, including Diana Taurasi, who did not even play. And I get that Diana Taurasi, by the way, one of the greatest, possibly the GOAT of the WNBA, did not play in that game against France. I believe. Also, Caitlin was better than her in her rookie season. Statistically, go across the board. And we've talked about it in all the other arguments. Statistically, better than Chelsea Gray, who was also coming off of injury. And again, I'm a fan of Chelsea Gray, by the way. I don't mean to bash her.
I'm familiar with your work.
I don't mean to bash her in any of these arguments. I think she's very exciting. I don't think that she would have sat on the end of the bench. And I also think that it would have been such a win for women's basketball. We can talk about bringing Angel over there as well. The kind of eyeballs and just notoriety that would have been brought to Team USA. And I also just think it's such a missed opportunity when you talk about Diana Taurasi, when you talk about Candace Parker, both of them in 2004 and 2008, going and playing on that team and contributing, and the things that they also contributed to women's basketball. I think it was just such a huge missed opportunity.
Last thing I'll say is Stewie also played in 2016, and so did Shamika Hoskall. Both of them also participated in all the things that Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi.
And I also think that they deserve to be on those teams.
Sure.
Much as I think Caitlin Clark also deserves to be on that team, top 4 in MVP voting in her rookie season, Rookie of the Year, broke so many records across the board, not only WNBA records, but also rookie records. A good enough player, and for the impact of women's basketball, no notes.
Which do you think would be more impactful, year 4 of Caitlin Clark in 2028 playing at home, or year 1 of Caitlin Clark playing overseas in Paris? Which do you think would have been more impactful?
Year 1 in Paris, 1,000%.
How come? Because Caitlin will be better in 2028 than she is right now.
It doesn't matter.
And the team would be for her.
100,000%. She should have been in Paris.
Very fair-minded. I agree with you in terms of Caitlin Clark and what she would have done and all that stuff. But genuine question for you. On that team, who would you replace, and what do you think Caitlin Clark would have done for the team? Genuinely asking.
Chelsea Gray, or Kelsey Plum, or Diana Taurasi.
All right, fine. With Caitlin Clark, like Marcus said, the physicality is huge, and for her to just watching her rookie season, the first half of the season, because obviously that's they go in the second half and the middle of the season, you can see that that's something she'd struggle with. And also the Indiana Fever schedule did not favor them in that, all the national games back to back.
Yeah.
We understand that. But when you talk about overseas playing for the country and all of that stuff, I think that first half of a rookie season showcased what it is that she would possibly look like in the USA, the Olympics. So with that being said, Caitlin Clark being on the team wouldn't help in that regard. She wouldn't be on the floor. She'd be Tyrese Halliburton, like you mentioned. Even if she got on the court, it would be a distraction.
Well, I think a distraction if it's truly a distraction, then the girls are going to have to get used to it. Because if you want to be a major sports league, you have to be ready for the millions and millions of eyeballs that come with that. So I definitely wouldn't consider it a distraction. And at the same time, it's like, if we're talking about an end of a bench player, Diana Taurasi, yes, has an incredible legacy, and I don't want to, I'm not disrespecting her at all, but swap her out for Caitlin if she's also going to sit at the end of the bench, plus you get all the eyeballs, you get everything that comes with it.
Not going to be cool with that? You don't think that's a fight on Elm Street?
This is the Olympic Committee choosing, though.
Diana Taurasi. You don't think that's a private?
No, it might have been, but if...
Yo, Caitlin, I got to holla at you. Come see me.
My next claim, Caitlin Clark is a top 3 college basketball player of all time.
Let me see your top 3.
I have Breanna Stewart, Candace Parker, and Caitlin.
I'm going to go with Maya Moore, Candace Parker, and not Caitlin, but I would say I'm going to go with Angel. Let's go with Angel.
Okay. What contributes to them being in your top 3? What's the metric that you use? Why are they the greatest for you?
Because first, Caitlin Clark didn't play as well as defensively a player at that time. Candace Parker played an all-around player as far as rebounds, defensive. She could dunk when she could. She could sit here and pull a 3 when she wants to. And that's where I'm gonna go with. Well, as far as Caitlin as an all around, no, but she had a lot of impact towards that community and to bring her up as far as being a
So you think
triple
Angel
double
Reese
in
individually
NCAA.
was a better player than Caitlin?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
You think she's individually a better player than Caitlin?
Caitlin Clark? Mm-hmm. No, I'm gonna just say down low. Because let's say this. Let's bring up Sabrina in the conversation. Okay. Sabrina had in the NCAA. She had 2K, 1K, and 1K. She had 2,000 points, 1,000 assists and 1,000 rebounds. And that was only in her COVID year. When Caitlin came in, she had 3,645 in the NCAA. She finished off with that. I believe that if Sabrina had another year, she even had greater time because, let's say this, when Candace went back in the WNBA as her debut, she had 35 points as soon as she came in. And then she was the first player to ever get rookie for MVP and also Defensive Player of the Year that year.
And Candace Parker, by the way, is my favorite college and WNBA player
she's
of all time. Love
Yes.
Candace. When Candace won MVP her rookie season, 25% of that MVP came from fan vote. And so I feel like we don't bring that up, and that's also not to take away from Candace. She had an incredible rookie season. But I think when we talk about collegiate records and things that these players did in college, Caitlin Clark individually, again, with the all-time scoring record, beating out Pete Maravich. She's the only player to have a 40-point triple-double. This is men's and women's in the tournament. She brought a team like Iowa that is not stacked, like a UConn, like a Tennessee, like any of these powerhouses like an LSU, to the Final Four back-to-back. And again, she wasn't able to get that championship, but I also believe that her not having a championship does not hurt her legacy.
So, college, I'm going to put my first one, Kelsey Plum. I think she was an absolute dog in Washington. I think the way that she affected the game, I think her poise, and especially to facilitate and most importantly score, not only from the three, but also the mid-range. And I think her stats, well, I'm not much of a stats guy. I'm more of a watch the game, understand the game, and you play your role. Caitlin Clark, she did break numbers, but like you said before, Iowa, they're only known for their football team, right? The Hawkeyes, they had to work their way up. Like we all know, college, you got to go from D3 to D2 to D1. So her first 2 years, yes, she might have had a good record, but who was she playing against? High school seniors, high school, people that were smaller than her. And the competition, the physicality was much different from Kelsey Plum's years.
She didn't go, Iowa didn't change divisions, though, in her first.
What I meant, like, basically is your competition, who you play year in and year out, and also the people that you face. That always changes throughout the years. Watching her highlights, watching her play, the physicality, the change was very different than what we see from Cheryl Miller's, Sue Bird's, Diana Taurasi's. The physicality, the defense was all that was very much different, and even the play style. Caitlin Clark, like we said before, she's a limitless range, so she can come from half court and shoot. She doesn't always need to be double teamed. She can come off a pick and roll, and she can shoot the pill. That is what her game is, unlimited range. Now, some of her playmaking skills was nice, but that was because all the focus was on her. So, like I said, once again, my Kelsey Plum, I'm going to go Sue Bird because that's just for my heart, and then Cheryl Miller when it comes to, like, NCAA. So that's me.
And I do respect those top three, and I think if we get into this debate and it's just about like who we like their style of play, or we think, that's why I try to go back to the numbers in all of it, and you just can't diminish the greatness that she had in college, and then on top of that, the impact that obviously she had on college basketball.
100%.
So, and she's also the only player, I believe, she averaged over 30 points in both of those tournament runs in those past 2 seasons. And when you talk about Iowa, like, there's nothing there, this and that, they had to work their way. I think that adds to her greatness because she didn't go to one of those powerhouse schools where multiple other players on her team are going into the WNBA or their 5-star
team.
Recruits.
So that's all that stuff is homegrown. And then when you go to like her points, look at her percentage. How many games was she shooting over 50%? Like there were a lot of games where she was shooting under 50%, like we were saying before. There were about 7 games throughout the tournament that she shot over 10, and out of those 10, there were about 3-4 that were over 50%. So that's when it comes to like the numbers and things. That's why I don't feel like she is number one, because if you're having limited range, you're going to shoot.
Rings are really important as a proxy. I mean, I'll give you my 3. We didn't mention Paige Beckers. But what about Cheryl Miller from USC, 2 national championships?
And here's I'm just going to stop you there. And again, Cheryl Miller, one of the greats. I was not born when she was playing. So
I definitely wasn't.
I haven't been able to experience her era. That's why when I talk about my top 3, these are 3 players that I have experienced, and I feel like I am knowledgeable enough, have watched them play enough, and have also felt the culture shift around the 3 players. When you talk about Brandon Stewart, I think she's one who flies under the radar. The numbers that she put up, by the way, she put up better numbers than Diana Taurasi during her UConn run and won 4 titles. That's crazy.
Do you think rings are an important part of defining the best 3 college players? I mean, Caitlin Clark did not win a ring.
I think that rings are important to a certain extent, because even if are you going to tell me that Bill Russell is a greater player than Michael Jordan because he has more rings? Or Robert Horry.
Man.
Whoa.
I mean,
Whoa.
Asia Wilson.
All right, that's it.
Asia Wilson.
Thank
has
you
won
guys for joining us for.
Asia Wilson has won a national championship. Kelsey Plum did as well, second most points in college basketball history. I mean, many of the Paige Beckers also won a national championship recently as well. I mean, it's not everything, I would say, but definitely it's a big spot on her career that she did not win one. And I think that's an important. And Cheryl Miller, I mean, just to harp on that, I mean, obviously, just the dominance. I mean, Reggie Miller's sister, two-time national champion, averaged almost 24 points per game. Naismith Hall of Famer. I mean, just the impact that she had. I know you said that you couldn't really tell like the culture, what she changed about the game as we know maybe about Caitlin Clark now, but you can't deny the impact that she's had.
And I never would. I absolutely would
but
never.
You still wouldn't have her top 3, even though.
No, I wouldn't. And
Just
that's the reason. And that's the reason why I think Caitlin Clark is still in that top 3, even without a ring, is because of the impact, because of the team that she took to the Final Four multiple times, because of the records that she broke. Because again, if we're subjectively watching how teams play defense against her compared to other players, if you're watching all of that together, still puts her over the edge, puts her in my top 3.
I would disagree, and I think everyone here as
that's
well.
That's fine.
And I think we won this debate, guys.
What I will say though, every single last one of you has been amazing. Like literally every single one of you with your points. I truly enjoyed this. And I think that there needs to be, especially around women's basketball, there needs to be more discussions like this because we've seen how toxic it's gotten. Yeah. So I think highly of all of you. Like we can go get coffee after this or something. But so thank you. I thought this was really fun.
Is it on you?
Sure.